I realize I'm a minute late. I apologize. So I hope you're all doing well today. My name is Cathy Jackson, sometimes Cathy Lamo. The second word is a Tibetan word, L-H-A-M-O. And I've shared several times I wasn't happy when my teacher gave me that name. I did a short retreat, and he said, "Don't you like the word goddess?" And I said, not really. I don't identify as a goddess. And he said, "You missed the point. It means to see the divine in everyone." So I hope everyone today is able to see the divine in everyone here as you go home and for the rest of your week. Normally, before we begin any type of gathering, we always say some prayers together. And today, by the way, the talk will be on all the customs all the things we do here that are maybe different from a church or your daily life. And you probably, after you've been here for a month or two, you probably don't even notice they're different, but they are. So if you're new, I welcome you. And if you've been here forever, welcome. And if you're bored, you can leave at any time. It doesn't offend me. So let's do the first prayer. It's called the Refuge prayer on the laminated sheet. And this is a very sacred prayer. When you become a Buddhist, this is the prayer that you do. And so talking about customs, we normally always put our hands, it's called Anjali. It's in the prayer mudra. So it looks like this, and it's not flat, but slightly like you're holding a gem at your heart. And so you hold it like this. But if you're holding for me, I have to hold this way. So I just put one hand up. And we sing it with a tune. So we're going to first say the Tibetan once, all 4 lines, and then we'll do the English twice. And you can follow me, and don't worry how you sound. We normally sing it with a little tune. And normally the person that's a chant leader kind of hits a little note to start with, to sort of make sure I'm in the right range. So I'll start now. Sanje chodan soki chonamla janchu bardu dani gyatsuchi dagi jinsuk kibisunangi drola benchir sanje druparsho. And in English, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the assembly most excellent, I take refuge until I reach enlightenment. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. In English, one more time. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the assembly most excellent, I take refuge until I reach enlightenment. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Thank you. We'll do the other prayer later. So the next prayer will be the 7 branch. We'll do that in a little bit. So I'm not used to teaching live. This is still strange. This is my second time. So please forgive me. My husband thought, no problem, I'm going to be doing this at my house today. And I said, no, I have to go in. So this is very exciting to be here. So today I thought, are any of you ever wondering all the different things we do and why we do them? Or do you just all take it for granted? So I think for just one moment, I want us to have a quiet moment and dedicate all of your activity for the person that is stuck in our elevator. The fire department is coming. So let's take a quiet moment and pray for them. They must be very frightened. And also, we should always offer up the merit for all the work the fire department does. Thank you. What people will do to get out of my class. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry. I have terrible humor. Please forgive me. I'm trying to think who it might be. Is it a new person? Oh my gosh, okay. So let's talk about kind of starting from when you first come to the Buddhist center, you're asked to take your shoes off. Now, in my house, I don't wear shoes, but my husband does. So some of us at home carry some of these traditions onward. And if you've ever lived in Asia, and you go to large Buddhist sites, Buddhist pilgrimage sites, you might have to walk very long distances in shoes. Without shoes. But and by the way, I think the only real rule that holds, and it's one of our real few rules, is you don't wear shoes inside here. You wear socks. You can wear indoor shoes. A lot of people that are in charge of the shrine would wear indoor shoes because sometimes the hardwood floor is hard for people's feet. And you don't necessarily have to park your shoes downstairs. You can park them up here by the little shoe rack that's up here. And why is this done? Well, remember, Buddhism started 600 years before Christ. So it's over 2,600 years old. And so in ancient times, they didn't have pavement or cement. They had, dirt walkways, but it was dustier and dirtier, and just in terms of a practicality, keeps things a lot cleaner. And it's also a sign of respect to come somewhere where you take your shoes off. So I think the most important thing today, everything I say is, but you don't have to do it except in here. That's one of the few ones that we really don't want anyone to wear their shoes in here. And maybe I'm completely going off grid like usual, but maybe the very next thing might be your feet. When you're in a shrine room, you normally don't point your feet, the soles of your feet, towards the shrine. This is the shrine if you're new. And this is because your feet are considered the lowest part of your body, the dirtiest, and it's kind of a sign of disrespect. Well, for me, I'm a bit of a wiggle worm, so I'm always moving my legs around, but if your foot just slightly kind of moves around, that's fine. We're just talking, just don't point them straight at the shrine. So I've taken care of feet. And if there's any questions during any of this is a very impromptu little talk today. So did anyone find it strange to be told to take your shoes off? No? It's very progressive times, I must say. And the next one would be prostrations. When you walk in here, you might see people do prostrations. And now I'm going to call upon my assistant, Lama Tom. And so all of you know this is Lama Tom. And I'm completely not following my outline, but that's fine. I just put it here for a second. But when you come into a shrine room, and this is called a shrine room, or gompa, which also means a place of meditation, this specific room, sometimes you'll see people wearing very different clothes, and they're very specific clothes. So all of us are called lay people that don't wear lama or monastic clothing. Lama Tom has completed a 3-year retreat, so their newer style of clothing is he's wearing a wraparound skirt, correct? So the guys have to wear skirts too. And I think they're very comfortable. And a top of usually yellow or burgundy, but they now wear a white shawl. So some of us own white shawls, but we would not have the rest of it. So this is Lama Tom, and could you please stand up and show a prostration? We do prostrations not to worship the Buddha, but to honor the divine within. And the Buddha represents that of body, speech, and mind. So could you do a half prostration? Thank you. So he comes down on his knees, his hands, and touches his forehead to the floor. So that's a half prostration. And when we come here, we normally do 3. You're not finished. So could you do a full prostration to show them? A full? So when there's this very special teacher here, or if you're in a very inspired mode, you can do a full prostration when you come in. You would normally do 3. At home, we do practices where we do 111,000 of these, along with a mantra and visualization called Mundro. Thank you. So you saw he completely stretched out. Thank you so much. And lastly, could you show the one like I would do? I had a stroke, so I can't do them as easily. So I just do a bow. And so but the thing that's common to all, thank you so much. The thing common to all of these prostrations is we touch our forehead, kind of the heel of our hands to our forehead. So in Tibetan Buddhism, which we practice, this is considered the body, the speech, and the mind. I know it's the heart, but we call it the mind. So you would always put your hands to your forehead sort of this way, and then to the throat, and then to the heart. And then you go down and do your prostration, just to let you know. And when you leave the shrine room, you never do prostrations. I remember the first time I was at the monastery, I'm like, no, and I don't know why. I don't know all the customs. I'm just listing maybe things that are a little different from your normal day at a Catholic church, which is my old tradition. Some things are very much the same, the donation box and all of that. So, are there any new people here today? Completely new? Hi there. What brought you here? Did they drag you here? Or you just came voluntarily? That's so nice. So, did you see the people doing these things I'm talking about today? Okay. And was that unusual? Okay, cool. I mean, because of YouTube and television and so many movies, we've seen all of this, but when I became Buddhist in the 80s, it was kind of a little different. I would go to the monastery, and I think the first week or two, I just kept sort of keeping track of, what are they doing? Why are they doing? And I would ask everyone, and they would tell you right off. So again, the purpose of the prostration is we deeply revere the life of the Buddha and all the teachings of the Buddha, of course. And so that is why we do prostrations, to bow to that wisdom, to that grace, that compassion that we all have within us that we are developing. So this is a wonderful practice for someone like me that's full of pride, because I have to not only bow to that, but also to that in everyone else. So it's a very beautiful practice, and we do something that Lama Tom, this is not a plug, but he teaches a wonderful sort of next level practice that we do called Mundro, and that includes doing a lot of prostrations. It's a very beautiful practice. Okay, so let's see, moving on. So you're in the shrine room. Let's talk about sitting. Sitting's a really important thing. Did most of you go to the beginner's meditation to learn how to meditate? That helps a lot. If you haven't, you might want to try that. Sometime it goes on concurrently with the meditation at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's always free. And it's from 10 to 11, and they teach you all about basically the basics of the center and how to meditate. But so at our center, we've always had wood floors, so we have these beautiful cushions, probably from Samadhi cushion. If you want to get a good cushion at home, you get a Samadhi cushion. So we have the big squares called zabutons. It's been a long time. And then the square box for the really tall people use these little square boxes here that's empty here. That's called a gamden. And then a lot of us use these smaller ones, and also the round zafus. And so I think the biggest secret for meditation when you begin, so you have three options in this place. You can sit on the floor on a cushion. You can sit in a chair. You can stand. Or you can do a little bit of everything. Some people who have injured their back, it might be too hard just to sit the whole time on the floor or even on a cushion. So all of that is fine. I think everything is pretty much allowed here. But I think it's important to note that. And it's not unusual to move around while you're meditating. That's wonderful if you need to make any adjustments, especially if your legs are going to sleep. Are there any questions so far? This is everything everyone knows. I'm sorry I'm boring you, but I just thought it's important to hear this a few times. And I did write this here. It's okay to leave the shrine room at any time. If you need to use the restroom, if you need to step out, if you have a call that's really urgent or a page, go for it, that's fine. And when you come back in, you would do the prostrations again. Oh, sure. Oh, good, I get a question.
I think you mentioned not doing prostrations outside of the shrine room. If you have your own home shrine.
Oh, no, you can do prostrations anywhere.
Okay, gotcha.
So yes, I have a shrine room at home and I do it.
Okay.
And some people, in Tibetans particularly, do something where it's called korwa. It means circumambulation. And they go around huge pilgrimage sites. They usually wear leather on their knees and on their hands. They have metal plates. They have it all down. And they do prostrations that way, even outdoors. So sometimes you see mothers with kids on their back. And
gotcha.
yeah, so yes, you can absolutely do them at home in front of your shrine.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
what if you don't have a shrine? You can still do it. Just imagine. We always have our imagination. So just imagine the sky is filled with Buddhas.
Yeah.
And we're prostrating to them and all their teachers and then your teachers. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Good question. For those that have just walked in, I'm talking about kind of customs that you might take for granted that we do here. Next, let's talk about, I did talk about prayers before, just for a moment. So at our center right now, we pretty much just give out one sheet of paper. And these are considered sacred prayers that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And the Tibetan script, which is on most of them, is considered very sacred. Thank you, Lama Dam, I saw that. And normally, you don't just put it on the bare floor for several reasons. They're kind of considered to be respected. And if it's on the floor, very likely you're going to step on it by mistake or step over it. So we try not to step over any images or prayers. And when you become a Buddhist, that's kind of part of some of the list of things that you're encouraged to learn to do. So I just want you to be aware of that. And what you do if your prayers are burnt or crumbled or damaged, they can be burnt. And if it's a large set of them, you can send them different places and we'll tell you where that is and they will burn it there for you. And the ashes are considered very sacred. Often people save the ashes. Okay, let's go on. So now I'm going to talk about once you enter the shrine room, and let's say there's not a lot going on yet, and you have a few minutes, please always feel free to go up to the shrine. And over the years, it's going to get very interesting when we get our big statues in and fill the walls up with all the pictures and everything. And it's really nice to get to know your shrine keeper. Today, we're graced with Julaine is sitting in the back in purple, and she is the shrine keeper, and she's almost always here during the break. So in the old days, we would go up and maybe light up a stick of incense, which I just learned today we don't do because of different reasons right now. But it's really nice when at home, if you have a shrine, and we've had a lot of classes on your home shrine, but at home you can offer incense. But sometimes we don't offer it here because some of us have asthma or other sensitivities. So sometimes we just have scented water or something. But I think it's nice to know Julaine, and nice to know that you can bring flowers. Some people bring different little offerings. Is there anything that people bring that is okay? What was the last one?
Food offering, packaged food.
Oh, packaged food, right. And some of it could be here, or it could be blessed by being on the shrine and then distributed to everyone. Or some people bring things here to be blessed and then they take it and give it to the animals. So maybe not right now because we're going through such transition, but eventually, sometimes people bring bird seed and we take that out later on. Okay, so that's the other thing you'll see in here. I mentioned kind of different, how we look differently, some of us. So there's a lay people. I'll start at the top. So how many of you were here when Kempo and the two Kempos were here a few weeks ago? Right. So they were full. They're actually Kempos, so they're abbots. They're a little higher up than a lama or a monk. And they've had very specific training, almost sort of past what a PhD we have here. And so they were wearing the robes of a monk, which is a burgundy shawl, and then sometimes they're different shades, and then they would have the yellow shirt, and then the burgundy, it's more of a tube what they wear, and they have a special belt and everything. So they were the teachers, and that's why you would see so much activity when they would come in, people would stand for them. And I would recommend for any teacher, all the lamas, Lama Cathy, Lama Tom, Lama Adam, or any of the visiting teachers, you can always stand for and prostrate. For ordinary people like me, you don't have to do that at all. But I think it's very important when they're there to just know you might have walked in, done your 3 prostrations, gotten your cushion, gotten really cozy, and then they come in. And everyone pops up, some of us slower than others. And that's why you see me, I'm always just standing in the back because I can't do all those steps. And then we do our prostrations, and then we sit down. And then you might see somebody come forward and give them tea or whatever they wish to drink. That's kind of the traditional way. During the empowerment or at the end of the whole event, people often give them donations. And you might see people with these little envelopes. We just use regular envelopes and put money in them. Why do we do that? Because, hold on. They're actually monastic. And in ancient times, monastics did not touch money. So that's one reason it's put in envelopes. In Tibet, the envelopes, did you see the ones in Tibet? Envelopes are beautiful. They have all this artwork on them, inscription. And sometimes if you're at a Chinese food store, you'll see these tiny little red envelopes. They're my favorite. So often, I was just at our retreat site in upstate New York with Marilyn, one of the instructors here. And the night before I got in the car, I sat there, and often we make donations when you're, okay, I'm really shifting gears here. When you're in a bigger group, let's say there's 50 monks or more, and sometimes that might happen here. Let me tell you, things are going to start happening when we start working on consecrating the shrine after the statues come in, when the statues are being filled. So it's really nice to make offerings to as many monastics as you can. And it's not unusual to give them a $1 donation in the little envelope. So I'm sitting in the house putting in all my envelopes. Certain people get 5, some 10, and some 1. I still have envelopes left at the house, and I'll just keep them there for the next visits. But it's nice to do. And during parts of the puja, somebody will let you know, or you'll see somebody start offering, and you've all seen the white scarves. Again, that's the tradition of not to touch cash or anything. So we have these beautiful white scarves, and we put them on the tables of the teacher, or hand them to the teacher, and they put it on your neck. But sometimes if it's too busy, you just put it on the table, and then you give them the donation. And you can then go around and give everyone a donation, all the monastics, and you don't have to give them all scarves. So there's a lot of play in that. But it's just nice to know. It's a nice form of generosity, and only give so that it doesn't hurt. That's very important. Be really practical in your lives in donation. Now that I'm talking about donation, which I didn't expect to go through so much, we have this, I guess it must be a new donation box here in the shrine room. I'll keep wondering what that was one day, and I realized that's what it was. And so if you're ever inspired, of course, most of us do things online, but I don't know if I even have $1 on me. I'm so used to using my phone for everything in the hospital, but you can do things online also. So donation is a nice practice, just a little bit here and there. It doesn't hurt. And the center, we're not paid by anyone. We support our monastery. I don't know if you know that. So it's really important to start learning how to practice, I think, a little generosity. All right. I think I've gone through a whole lot of different things here that I didn't expect to do. What else you might see in the shrine room? So I talked about sort of the main 2 people that have had extra training would be the Khenpos and the monastics, and then the lamas, those 3 different groups. So they will maybe look a little different. And then something that you might, sorry, I use this in the hospital for people. What you might also see are people sitting here with doing their prayer beads. And I don't know how many of you have a prayer bead. This is called a mala. It's 108 beads with a few little gigas on it for counting. I have 4 different counters on here. And if you do any of the practices besides shamatha, for instance, the pujas of Chenrezig, Marilyn leads Green Tara here. We're going to be doing Medicine Buddha soon here. We do all of this online now. But at a certain point, we do mantra accumulation. Or it's just nice to, and so we say mantras on each of these beads. So my mala kind of covers all the different practices I do. I'm talking, you've probably heard Om Mani Padme Hum. That's very good. So this is how we keep count. And so I don't necessarily keep count, but it's a nice tool, sort of my connection with keeping my body and my mind together is using your hands, I think, and the mala is very, very practical. And whenever a teacher is here, you just do this when they walk by, and they'll just touch your mala and bless it. It's always nice to get extra blessings. So you might see people sitting here, even during shamatha, doing their beads quietly. Or you might see people with a little thing that they're spinning called a prayer wheel. We have hand prayer wheels. I have a solar one in my shrine room. I love that. And when you've traveled through Asia, there's a place where we spin. Are we going to have prayer wheels here? Will we have prayer wheels installed here? Outdoors? We might have some outdoors. Do you know, Julaine? Okay. So sometimes there's these big things and you just walk by while you're doing circumambulation and you spin these things. Has anyone seen a big prayer wheel? They're really nice. My favorite YouTube video is little kids like spinning it and then holding on, riding it. It's like 10 feet tall. It's really beautiful. So those are some things you might see people do. So does anyone own a mala? What is yours made out of, Helder? Sandalwood, very nice. And this is lotus wood. I've told stories before. My friend lives in Nepal in a monastery, and one day she smelled something really unusual. And there were all these young monks who took over the kitchen during off hours, and they were roasting their beads, so they looked more ancient. So people love their prayer beads. This thing has gone through the washer so many times, and it was white when I got it, but this is lotus seed. There's different woods, and a lot of people like gems also. If you do Medicine Buddha, you might have lapis lazuli. If you do green, you would do malachite. People who do Chenrezig sometimes do mother of pearl, sometimes crystal. So there's a lot of different style of beads. And at every center, you'll always find somebody who can repair beads. I don't know who does here, but usually someone can, because they inadvertently will break. So are there any questions so far? All right, let's talk about the stupa. How many of you have gone around the stupa outside? Okay, so the stupa is full of relics, meaning when the Buddha died, there were many types of relics that were found. So when his body was cremated, there's sort of a miraculous event that happens where special relics are found. And with any high teacher, there's relics. And so a lot of us wear things. Do you have a gown on? I don't wear it that often, but my gown is full of special relics, and so they're full of blessings. So the stupa outside is emanating blessings for the entire world. And it's really nice as a Buddhist to circumambulate it going clockwise. And you would usually have your prayer beads or just to walk around and just think of really positive thoughts for the world. And I always love going, and whenever you go to any Buddhist site, 99% of the time they go clockwise, and I do not know why. But it's sort of like, spinning it just by walking physically around, you're spinning the energy. And so walking around the stupa here is very special. We also have prayer flags now. Have you all seen the prayer flags out back? You can buy prayer flags for your home. And every time the wind blows, the mantras, so it's just full of mantras. And whenever the wind blows, the mantras just go off. And mantras are special sacred symbols, and they emanate blessings throughout the universe. So it's really nice to have all these little things around you to continuously remind yourself of all the sacredness that's out there. Well, are there any questions at all? Oh, great. You guys can ask me anything. If I don't know it, I won't. I'll let you know.
Hi there. So on the mala, does it matter if you draw the beads towards you, away from you, or right hand, left hand?
You know, so I remember I used to use my right hand thinking it was better to use my right hand. But now with malas, but later I was trained, because of Asia, you use one hand for wiping. I'm sorry. In Asia, you always have an assigned wipe hand. This is my wipe hand. And so, and normally when you have your beads, you're also turning the pages of a text. So the right hand gets the text, the left hand gets the mala. And I'm glad you asked this. Normally, we always pull the beads towards us. So the beads are going towards me. Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme. I'm not usually this fast. But it's sort of like in Ghostbuster. You don't cross the light, the stream. You don't cross over the guru bead. There's a big bead here called a guru bead that has 3 holes in it. You just turn the mala back around and go back around.
Okay.
And if you like, I could show you more on a personal level how to do that.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And you can wear the mala around your neck, around your wrist. I always see pictures of Richard Gere. He always has one around his wrist. But yeah, however you like. Hi there.
Hi, I have a question.
Is the microphone too high, or
Probably.
are you good?
But
You can move it. Go ahead.
I have a question about the prayer wheel. I've seen people have a hand one.
Yes.
They're spinning it. Oh, thank you. So anyway, I wondered what the practice was associated with that.
There are actual practices for using the prayer wheel in other Buddhist traditions. Ours is more for accumulating merit, and so I'm so upset I forgot to bring, no one has a prayer wheel here, do they? I don't want to take your prayer wheel apart. But if you take it apart, there's usually a paper roll really thick with thousands and thousands of mantras. So every time you spin it, again, clockwise, and there's a little weight on it that spins with it, and it takes a moment it's all in the wrist when you do a prayer wheel. So when I do practices at home, I'll have a moment where I just use prayer wheel. Many times when I used to live at the monastery, I would see Tibetans watching TV with their beads in one hand and their prayer wheel in the other hand, because they always want to emanate merit, But we don't have a specific practice, and that might be a good question for the lamas at some point. Do you know if there's a practice for prayer wheels? I can't hear you. What? Oh, that would be nice. So if you didn't hear that, Lama Tom said, when you're spinning the prayer wheel, you visualize that the mantras are emanating out, removing all suffering, right? And offering blessings everywhere. And often, if most prayer wheels are filled with Om Mani Padme Hum, which is Chenrezi's practice, so you can visualize Chenrezi. Is there a Chenrezi in back of me? Is there a tanka? So that would be the white is Chenrezi. So you would visualize that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. That's a great question. We have all these Buddhist, I shouldn't rename this the Buddhist toys. We, as human beings, I think we love to use things where we're using our body and our mind, not just, like for me, shamatha is a beautiful practice, but it's hard for me. I much rather do visualization practices because I need a little bit more activity going on. But everyone's very different, which is I love about Buddhism. And then kind of moving into pujas for a moment. At our center right now, we mostly do shamatha here, but I believe Maryland does green tara early morning on Sundays. And so are the benches lined up and all that? Okay, great benches, by the way. So during the puja, it's a very different environment. It's louder. And if you go to, I would say come back here in about 4 months, it's going to be even louder because we're going to be playing drums and a lot more instruments when we do a puja, which is so much fun. Lama Tom just got back from our monastery where he played drum, and I was in a Amitabha retreat where I got to play drum. We're talking the big drums. We don't have the big ones yet, but mine was a medium. I only had a 4-foot drum. You had like a 6-foot drum. But it's so wonderful to have music when you're doing the pujas. And whenever we do a puja, you might see a lineup of people, and there'll always be someone in the room. If you look a little lost, someone will always show you where to sit. And often here we provide text, which is a sadhana you look at, and it's in English, it's in the Tibetan script with the transliteration, how to pronounce it, and then in English underneath with the pronunciation. I'm sorry, that's a translation. Transliteration, then we had I'll start over again. Tibetan, transliteration, how to say that in English, or Chinese, depending on the text. And then lastly, the translation of what it says. And we teach a lot of classes, Lama Tom and Lama Cathy have taught several classes on all the deity practices. And so we'll be doing Medicine Buddha here, which is my fave, because that's one I do a great deal. And we'll do green Tara and white Tara here. And Chenrezi, we're going to be doing that. When is that going to happen? Anyone know? What? Soon, okay. So that'll be live instead of, on video. So that'll be fun. So you're all invited to that. And that's the one thing, you might see a lot more activity. And there's going to be one person that's going to be making offerings to the shrine that symbolizes all of us. They represent us. And that would be the Chopan, and that would probably be Julaine or other people in the room that are trained in that. So when we do a puja, it's almost like a Broadway musical. I think this is why Lama Cathy loves them. I love you, Lama Cathy. Because we have a setting, we have singing, we have music, and we have action. So, and not to mention mentally, we're making all these beautiful offerings mentally, and we have the support of everyone, a great cast. So I invite you to join in on any of those, because they're usually open to the public. And they're a lot of fun, and we'll make sure that you understand over time how it all works, because it's really nice. So, are there any questions right now? So everyone understand all that they're seeing? Is there anything unusual that we do that you don't understand? You've all got it covered. Okay, then let's pray. Did the person get out of the elevator? Yes. Okay, thank you. Let's do the 7-branch prayer. Because my class was mostly around just to remove any questions you might have. And any other time, please ask them. But I thought we would do the 7-branch prayer now. The last time I spoke, I talked about accumulating merit, which is very important for us. Because we believe we have been reborn countless number of times. And we are very fortunate at this time to be able to think of other beings and their concerns. 7-branch prayer is a beautiful offering prayer, so we're just gonna read it together. With complete faith, I bow. Oh wait, does everyone have a copy of this? Thank you, Julaine. This is just a single sheet of paper that's over there. Do you all have a copy in the back? It's right next to the Refuge in the box there, in front of you. No, it's just a plain sheet of paper. Okay, maybe there's no more, I'm sorry. Right, with complete faith, I bow to all the victorious ones and their sons who abide in the 10 directions and the 3 times. I offer flowers, incense, light, perfume, food, music, and many other things, both in substance and with my imagination. I ask the noble assemblage to accept them. I confess all evil actions that I have done influenced by the defilements from time without beginning unto now. The 5 that ripen immediately, the 10 non-virtuous acts, and many others. I rejoice in the merit of whatever virtue Shravakas, Pratyekya Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and ordinary people gather throughout the 3 times. I pray for the wheel of Dharma to be turned, the teachings of the Mahayana and Hinayana, in ways suitable for the different aptitudes and motivations present in sentient beings. I ask the Buddhas not to pass into nirvana, but with great compassion and until samsara is completely empty, to look after all sentient beings who drown in the ocean of sorrow. May whatever merit I have accumulated become a seed for the enlightenment of all beings. Without delay, may I become a splendid leader of sentient beings. So this prayer, I'm not used to it in English. It's a very beautiful prayer. It is built into most of the practices that we do, not meditation practice, but the pujas I talked about. And this is a combination of, we talk about bowing as prostrations or making homage. We make offerings. We confess whatever we've done. We rejoice in merit. We ask that Buddhism continually be taught by the Buddhas. It is said if we don't ask them, then they'll go on where they're needed elsewhere. Also, not to have them pass, but to please stay, continue to teach. And lastly, to accumulate and offer up whatever merit from everything that we just did to all living beings. So I think we're going to get out early today. I know today is Comfest, but let's just take a quiet moment and offer all of the merit of your generosity, of your time, being polite to be here today, your curiosity, your sincerity, all of the wonderful opportunities you've had in your life, your freedoms, your health. Offer that to those at this time that do not have that, particularly in countries full of war or terrible natural calamities, such as in Afghanistan right now. Also, for the world, especially in America, that is dealing with the politics that have shifted very quickly. Offer all of that merit to the entire world. So you don't hold on to it, but you let it flow through you. And lastly, the other prayer we have is the formal dedication of merit on the second side of the laminate. We'll do both prayers in Tibetan once and then in English once. Sanam di tanje sepani donene pedranam pamchene ekanachi palachupai sipe sole jova jova sho Jampa pavo chita kemba dam kuntu sampo deyam deshinde deda kungi jesu dalo chin yewa dida tam cheratungo. In English, by this merit may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. The courageous Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, and all the bodhisattvas, that I may follow in their path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. And we'll just have a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful day. And remember, the Comfest is still on. My husband and I were there 50 years ago, the very first one I remember. It was pretty amazing. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes. Thank you. Seems like you knew almost everything.